Jen, I think we're ready whenever you want to call the meeting to order. And just remember that you are muted. There you go.
Okay, great. Let's start with the September 2nd Public Arts Committee meeting. I'm going to first read that consistent with Executive Order N2920, in-person participation by the public will not be permitted, and no physical location from which the public may observe the meeting will be available. Remote public participation is allowed using the Zoom program. Okay, we want to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Carrie, would you like to do a roll call?
Sure. Chair Burtz.
Here.
Vice Chair Neil Sison.
Here.
Committee Member Strucker.
Present.
Committee Member Langberg.
Here.
And Committee Member Arnold.
Warren, looks like you're muted.
Try again.
There we go. All present.
Okay, if everyone's had a chance to look over the minutes, we can discuss that or go ahead and approve the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I approve.
I have a question about the minutes.
Go ahead.
I was a little confused when it said members absent. It listed myself and Warren. And I'm not sure if it was talking about the August 5th meeting or previous meeting, because I was definitely there at the last meeting on August 5th.
Let me take a look at that.
Yeah, I noticed that too, because then you approved or seconded the minutes, but you weren't there, so something
Right.
was inconsistent there.
Okay, and this was for the July 7th minutes or the July 1st?
This should have been the August 5th minutes. Those are the
Right.
ones that are on our agenda.
Right.
Next in. Okay, I'll make note of that. Okay.
Any other corrections?
Sounds like there's no other corrections. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Jen, can you call for see if there's a second?
We have a second.
Second.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay,
Okay. And Jen, how did you vote on that?
aye.
Okay, so the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, great. Do we have public comments?
I
Thank
don't
you.
see any
Yeah.
I don't see any members of the public here. I did send out after our last meeting some public comments that the city had received on the mural in the plaza. Other than that, we have not received any further public comments for items either on the agenda or not on the agenda.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Thank you. Do we have any statements of conflict of interest? Okay, let's move right into the regular agenda. And the first part here is discussing the adding of members to the subcommittees that we discussed in the last meeting. Does anybody have any additional thoughts or comments on the subcommittees?
I have a few comments. After looking over the city council's response, I read had two primary questions, so I addressed those. One is, I still feel that a pool listing of those people that have expressed interest in either serving on the PAC or other city committees or an interest in public art be listed with their contact information. And if they have any potential topics or areas of interest, that could possibly be listed with their personal information. And then they could perhaps be called upon if the PAC has any subcommittee work to be done, depending on that interest, their availability, any representation, etc. That was my first comment. My second and last one is that in response to the City Council's second question, that these people would be utilized in discussions of subcommittee work, assisting PAC subcommittee reps in accomplishing preparatory work, research, conducting surveys, compiling results, et al., to then be presented to PAC members at a meeting.
And I have one thing to add to that. Thank you, Jeff. That was great. Which is on the listing of people's interests and so on, also conflicts of interest possible. Potential.
Anybody else? Can I just clarify, the subcommittee members would not just be anybody from the public at any time that we felt like, or would they be specifically people who asked to be members of subcommittees and we'd pull from that group only?
From a pool?
Yes.
Yes. That was my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah, I think us sort of seeing how some of the other council subcommittees, city council subcommittees are run, where they do have members that aren't from the actual body, so not people in addition to the PAC in this case. I think committee member Strucker's idea of, yeah, can we get it sort of a call of interest, and then this committee or the subcommittees, say the mobile art app committee needed, I use this as an example of if you needed people to go out and take images of artwork in the public realm and upload them, could contact those, the members who have shown interest, or the members who have submitted, the volunteers list, let's call it, who have submitted applications or signed up as interested volunteers, and coordinate, are they interested in serving on that subcommittee or assisting that subcommittee, and then do it more on a regular basis. So it's not, I think for the subcommittees, it would be helpful to have that continuity as opposed to, okay, we're meeting and having general people come and go, which would, without really knowing what's going on.
Okay, great. So the
Yes,
next,
thank you. It was unmuting.
So that's what he did. He did come up there.
okay, so the next step there would be to kind of publicize it, that we're asking for folks to come and come part of this.
Yeah, I think the next thing that certainly could be done, I think the next step would be if this committee wants to make a motion to direct staff to put together these additional thoughts into a recommendation back to City Council for them to review. They were the ones who had requested originally that this committee look at expanding the PAC, and so to recommend back to them, hey, we don't recommend expanding the PAC because of the reasons enumerated in the staff report, and please, if we've missed any, we should add at this time. We'll write up that staff report and present it to council, hopefully with someone from this committee, SO liaison, who would be willing to attend that and answer any questions they might have of the PAC. And then also included in that will be the, hey, but we do think it makes sense to go ahead and do a call for volunteers to serve on subcommittees. This is what we're thinking of advertising, and report back to them and then advertise.
Does somebody, is somebody interested in starting that motion?
Hopefully, he will see them, and at the end of the presentation, he will say, we've received these, because sometimes kids ask stupid stuff.
What are we hearing?
I'm sorry, yeah, I hear something in the background.
Thank
Okay,
you.
it's gone.
All right, and if someone wants to just say, I so move, they don't need to repeat what I just said. If that seems like a good process, we'll go ahead and do that. And yes, I think asking if there are any volunteers to attend that council meeting would be helpful as well.
I so move.
Great, thank you. Do we have a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Okay, great.
So if you want, I do want, right?
Do you
And
want
we
to
can,
do it all, or can we just go ahead and,
Now, the sharpshooter.
all right, all in favor? Say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Jeff, we're still hearing something, if that's from you.
That is not for me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, is anybody opposed? All opposed, say nay.
okay, I believe that was a 5-0. I believe everyone voted yes. If not, please let me know. 5-0 to put together this recommendation for council. And you can either do a separate motion or ask for a discussion topic on a potential liaison to the city council meeting, which will probably not be the next meeting. It'll probably be the first meeting in October.
October 6th. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. If we should just move right along, is that okay with everybody?
I hope so.
We'll straight into the support for the artists during COVID-19, which is continued from the last meeting. And I believe everybody got notes on that. Is that right? Did everybody have a chance? to-
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, Margie, do you have something to start off and talk about on this?
Well, I hope we can get this finalized and passed on to the city council today. So if you look at the timeline, a proposed timeline, so that we can get help out to at least some artists sooner rather than later. And there was a last minute update that was emailed to you. So I hope you got that.
No,
Do you get email?
I do,
Yes, I
but
got
it-
that.
am I speaking now? Okay, the
You
attachment
are?
is something, the attachment is one that I can never open. It's something called WinMart or something like that, and never can open it.
It looks to me
All
like
right.
a Word doc. Warren, do you have Word, Microsoft Word on your computer?
Yes, but it's just one peculiar attachment, and when they do that, I cannot open it. The other attachment for the full program, I was able to get.
Okay.
So what has changed on this?
Which version? When did you
I
last?
have now in front of me, I think Alan sent it. I would like to add to point 3 under eligible artists. Yes. Between from and artwork, sale of artwork.
Excellent. Thank you.
So Margie, I have comments, but first I wanted to apologize because you have graciously been asking us committee members to comment on, I think, both this and the sculpture garden drafts. And I did not do it. I don't have any excuses. I didn't do it, but I did do it last night. So I don't know if you want to go through a number of mine are mechanical, but I do have a few more general questions. So I'm at your disposal in terms of how you feel best you want to do that. If you want to do mechanical stuff during this meeting right now, or have me send them on to you and staff.
Well, as I say, Jen and I were hopeful that we could get this completed at this meeting.
Okay. Well, I'll just go down my list then. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll be as efficient as possible. So first of all, starting towards the top, number 3, it's COVID-19, not Corvid. That's a type of crow. That's a crow family.
You know, I keep saying that, sorry.
COVID-19. Let's be consistent with that. Number 4, apply by October 4 deadline. I think it makes total sense. Just put October 4th right in there so the eligible artists have it right up front. And then continuing down, there should be a space after PAC, between PAC and lottery.
Where?
Dear artist, the intent of this PAC,
Okay, thank you.
space lottery.
Thank you.
And then I would suggest removing the word now, because I think it's already inherent that they're struggling financially because of the effects of COVID-19. So I think removing the word now makes it a little more succinct.
I would just say that that was to kind of eliminate that, you know, they had a bump a few months ago.
Oh, okay. I understand that then. Continuing down.
Or we could change it to currently.
Okay, that's even better.
Okay.
Moving down to the next paragraph here, how to enter lottery. I would remove the colon after send your, because,
Fine.
I mean, this is all a sentence
Okay.
without the colon. And then I would change it to provide your instead of send. So I would just suggest changing to, instead of send your, provide your, because you say down here, send to, so it makes it more redundant.
Okay.
Provide your name, etc. And then this one, if you do not want your name mentioned, I would suggest editing that to if you win and do not want your name mentioned.
No, because that sequentially, I would like them to mention it first.
Okay.
So otherwise, it's if you win, then you will see. I'd like them to tell us now. And the reason it's in bold is because it was an addition. It will be unbolded.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, moving down to when to enter. I think it's redundant to say when to enter and then stay starting. So I would just say when to enter September 16, 2020, and then it follows with the deadline to enter. I would just say this could be cleaned up a little bit.
So you want when to enter, just to have September, no, but then it sounds like it's unclear. This is making it clear, because if you just say enter on September 16th, then that might be confusing. People think, well, is that if I don't do it that day and then the deadline is, and I don't understand. So it's be clear so there's no confusion.
Okay. Then moving down to Alan, can you scroll down a little bit more? Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Bear with me a moment. I'm trying to focus in on where we're at. Okay. So I just had a question. I know of the artist Terry Sloat. So Terry Stote is
Sorry,
just the
Yes.
correct,
Yeah.
is that the correct spelling?
corrected. Where is that?
I have contacted Terry.
Stote.
It is Sloat. Is that correct?
I think so, yes. Yes, probably. I often do that with her name. Thank you.
Sure.
I did speak with her. So she's going to put it before the membership and get back to me.
Okay.
I'll change that to spoken with.
So under promotion possibilities, the third check blank says contact media RE. Is that regarding,
Yes,
right, regarding winners and installation of artwork?
there's
Okay.
a deep colon there. Okay.
Just write out regarding.
Yeah, I would too. That makes sense to me.
Oh, okay. And actually, I want to add in there. Oh, no, that's okay. That's the fourth one, the next one. Yeah, it's included. Okay.
And then I have a suggestion of 2 possible inclusions. It would say, quote, should the PAC receive only 4 question mark or fewer artist entrants, the funds will be distributed equally amongst those entrants.
That's fantastic. I love that. Yeah.
Okay. Would you just, after we close, please, or right now, email me that?
Okay,
I
I will. And then the second one, Margie, is, quote, should more than 4 artist entrants be received, a simple, and I put in a bingo style, lottery draw will be conducted during the public PAC. On second thought, I would take out bingo style, and I would just say a simple lottery draw will be conducted during the public PAC meeting. And I will email you that too, Margie, and you could consider that.
Yeah, well, we don't know, right now we only have 2 gifts. So number 1 there for PAC consideration would bring us to 4. If the city council matches, it will bring us to 8.
Okay.
Minimum of 2, maximum of 8 at this point.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yes, that's it.
Thank you very much. That's an excellent input, and I really appreciate it. And I just do want to say, as you all know, on this and the community sculpture garden proposals, the only person who sent in comments was Warren, who sent in very good ones that have been, I've included that as much as possible in these forms, as you'll see, Warren. So again, I'd like to encourage you all in the future, please, to send in comments previous to a meeting, then they can be incorporated or, highlighted for discussion, and we can move more efficiently.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And Margie, I had one question about the,
Is that Carrie? Yes.
yes, thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
A couple of things. One, I think we had, we'll change the send to be either Rebecca or Alan, which is fine. We can take care of that. I did have one question about the deadline.
Mhm.
We have found, like with our RFPs, that it's always better to have it kind of the end of a workday. So I might suggest we have that be Monday at 5:30, say. That way and just say that it needs to be received. That way, if they want to drop it off through the mail slot in the door or something like that, because they don't have access to email, it's easier to collect for us.
Okay, do you have a date? What date that is, just so I can?
I think August 5th at 5:30. That puts it to
You mean October?
October, sorry, October 5th. Yeah,
Okay.
so basically the next day, which is the
Thank you.
Monday
Thank you.
at 5:30 would be, I think, fine, and we'll be able to get the names written up before the PAC meeting. We still have a full day for that.
Thank you. Anything else? It's great.
Well, so Margie, you had, or in the draft, there's that 3-paragraph section towards the middle on the second page that says note to PAC on proposal. Are those items that you see being included in this when it goes to potential artists, or that's just for the PAC?
Okay, so I'd like us to, Jen and I both would strongly encourage increasing the donation from 1 to 2,000, and she can speak to that so eloquently. So that would be included. Number 2, yes, that would be included. And Carrie said the timing would work, could work. Number 3, that's something, yeah, I'd like some feedback on. So the whole thing is like, how do we make this simple and gracious and yet, I don't know the word for it, you know, just well, I don't know, well protected is not the right word, but anyway, you know, to make it real solid. And so that's number 3. So, and number 4, to actually do the lottery. You know, we were all talking about, everyone I talked to, you know, had this beautiful image, and that was because we were thinking in the old days before the pandemic. So now we're all Zooming. So we're not going to have this wonderful event where, you know, maybe I had an idea, maybe NetCon or somebody could pick the draw and so on. So we're going to do it at the meeting. It's all Zooming. And my idea, and I'm open to other ideas, would be to have Jen do it as our chair, and possibly create, she and I will be sorting through the entrance, and she could possibly create little pieces of paper with each person's name or a number on it, and she will draw from a box. That's my most current idea, but if other people have other ideas. Thank
I
you.
have actually have a bingo wheel.
Do
with
you have
100
such a
balls
thing?
in it. We could only, you know, just put the number of balls in there that we have entrance for.
Do you have
That's
such
a
a wheel?
possibility. Sorry?
Do you have such a wheel?
Yes, I do. I used to use it in the classroom. Now, we didn't gamble, mind you, but
That's great.
yeah.
So would the idea be to have a list with the names and assign them bingo numbers? Is that how you would do it?
Yeah,
Is that
correct.
kind of
Because
style?
the thing is, having done a lot of those like paper slip drawings in the past, paper is a little, you know how it is. It can get caught up on things. They could stick together. You never know. Something could accidentally happen.
So
You didn't
if
intend
we
to,
were
whereas the balls, you know.
If we were going to do that, my thought would be, can you get the wheel to Jen?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And I'll
Jen,
give her a little in-service. We'll mask up and do an in-service.
how is that? What do you think, Jen? Where's
That's
she?
fine. I'm also fine with Jeff doing it. I've never used a lottery wheel before, but I'm sure I could figure it out. But I mean,
I think officially it'd be better coming from her chair.
it
That's my
could
opinion.
carry just as well. So somebody that's not necessarily on the board, I'm not sure how I feel about one of us necessarily pulling it. But no, whatever works. I love the idea of the bingo ball. That's fantastic.
Well, the only other way, I mean, it gets more complicated. If anybody outside does it, then we would have to get them the wheel and get them I guess just the numbers, and we would have the numbers. We could see if Ned wanted to do that by Zoom, a
Well,
special.
here's a couple of suggestions. One is either, I mean, you could have, say, Jeff, if you're okay with the members doing it, Jeff pull the number, you know, read out the number, and then Jen, if you had the cross list at your home, you know, separate screens like we are now, but a cross list of who that winner was associated with it, then it'd sort of be a dual member. And, you know, I'm fine if you want staff to be pulling the balls or something like that too. But I think this has been such a wonderful committee initiative. It'd be nice to see the committee members do it, in my mind.
Okay, that's great. I like that idea as well.
Any other input on this?
I'll bring the bingo wheel to the next meeting. How's that? You can take a look.
Bring
Well,
it
of course,
to
the
next
idea
meeting.
would be to do this at the next meeting.
Oh, okay.
I appreciate, Jeff, you having the wheel. I personally feel it's more official if we have our chairperson do it. That's my individual opinion.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm happy to deliver the wheel to Jen somewhere, wherever she's comfortable, and show her how to use it. It's not too difficult. I'm
Jen?
sure artists like you could handle it
Huh.
in a breeze.
Okay, I'm not too worried. I think I can do it. Can I back you up just a little bit though, Jeff, and ask you at the beginning of this part of the conversation, you were talking about the paragraphs on page 2 and Margie jumped straight down to the numbered items. And I
Correct.
that you were speaking on the topics that said note to pack on proposal. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Can we go back and talk about that? Because it did get skipped and I just want to make sure that we're clear. Margie, what Jeff was asking here was under the words note to pack on proposal, this, especially this part that's in italics here,
Mhm.
these are just notes that we're going to talk about today. This isn't necessarily what you're going to have in the proposal. Is that right?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Did you have more questions on that? Because I
I'm
think
sorry, I was looking at it, looking at a different version. So yeah, so sorry about that. And those were just notes to the pack.
So I just drew a line on the screen is,
Yes,
and actually maybe we don't necessarily have possible venues. Would that be the bottom line there? Would that be the end of what the official report to council would be? Or what we publish or send to the folks?
so where is your line? Oh, so example, then move the line underneath that, please. There,
Okay.
that's it. And we probably also, I think, should include the timeline.
You just
So just to delete the notes, basically.
yeah.
Yes, yes. And yeah. And also for PAC consideration, we'll delete that because hopefully that will be incorporated.
So can you go down to that one again, those last notes? So you're asking number 3,
Mhm.
is that, so is it, are we have to verify that the people asking for this money live in the city of Sebastopol?
Yeah. So that's, I'm not sure where we want to be on that at all, one way or another. Do we want, how much do we want to verify? Do we want to verify? How do we want to verify?
it's been suggested that we do this fully on the honor system, or we bring in little pieces of proof per se. The question is, how much extra work do we want to give ourselves here? And even just if this was a digital entry and they could just take a picture of a piece of mail or something that gave them a Sebastopol address, this money should stay in town. And it would be great to just know that they had some connection here, and that, the whole point of, I think, the beginning part, of course, is just asking them, it's basically saying this is the honor system, that you really need this money and that you're a local artist. So some sort of proof would be great. If you have a better suggestion, that would be really wonderful, something that would even be easier. But my idea was just to add just something that shows that they're from here, because if this turns out to be somebody, from Napa and they got it, it would be a really poor look upon all of us if we didn't do something to.
No, that's true, but it's not just city of Sebastopol though, is it? It's because is it the zip code? Like, I mean, there, city and the region are different, right? It's twice as big or whatever.
Right, if I'm not mistaken, it would be okay for us to do this within the entire zip code.
Yeah.
Okay, do it by zip code, fine.
Yeah, and ultimately council will, when they review this, will have the final say on this, but I think your committee should absolutely recommend what you feel comfortable with.
That what? That we should
You
recommend?
should recommend what you would like it to be.
Yes. So what do people want to do and how should we do about the verification? Honor system verification, digital.
So if we're asking the winners to provide a W-9 or comparable form, you're asking for personal information. So why not just ask for their address?
We are not asking for a W-9 or any tax statements at all. We are asking that this be on the honor system. I don't think Margie or I or Carrie want to go through people's personal information.
Jen, I did forward it to you and Carrie said that the winners will need to submit some form like some W.
Winner, right, that's right.
Right. So we'll be assured that whoever the winners are, that, it's an honor system, but the actual winners, obviously that would need to match what they had submitted.
So how about we will say in the thing, winners will be required. And then if someone is, is not local, maybe that would head them off.
What the original thing we're talking about here is number 3, which is entrance. Okay, so
Mhm.
we are not asking entrance to turn in any tax forms. Margie, myself,
No.
Carrie, none of us are going to be going through how
Right.
much money they make from art per year for us to decide, well, they did have a huge hit from COVID or not. No, nothing like that. That's why this is based on honor system, including the fact all the way up into, maybe if we could have you, and we don't necessarily have to, because at the end, we are saying that you will have to fill out, and if this is written in here, you'll have to fill out a W-9 or some sort of form to be able to be a recipient if you are a winner. And that kind of encompasses
Mhm.
everything, right? So at that point, when they turn in their tax statements or to fill out a W-9,
Mhm.
and if they're not, if they've got a Texas address, clearly that's going to change
Right.
what happens, right?
And
Mhm.
then we pick someone else.
Mhm. 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 Mhm.
Right.
Good.
And I think at that point then if someone knows that they're going to have to submit that, they're going to look at the eligibility line. I would note, if right now resident of Sebastopol as written, would note that they would need to be a resident of the city as opposed to the zip code. So that is something you should
Interesting. Okay. So how would we word
you
it?
should just clarify that up there, so otherwise people will be confused.
Yeah.
You just said they have to be a resident of the city, not just the zip code, and why would that be?
Because I don't think it's clear under item 1. When I read resident of Sebastopol with a capital S, as opposed to the Sebastopol zip code, those are 2 different geographic areas. The city limits is the city limits of Sebastopol. Sebastopol zip code is probably 35,000 people versus the city, which is like 7,500. So I think it just for people knowing whether or not they're eligible or not, this line should be clear whether it's the zip code or city.
Okay, how do we?
May
want-
I interject? May I interject in this?
Go ahead, Warren.
I would suggest you do the zip code. I don't live in downtown Sebastopol, but I pay taxes for schools and hospital for Sebastopol. Also a member of the Arts Center, et cetera. So I think the 95472 should be it.
Okay, how about are currently a resident with Sebastopol zip code 95473?
Or you could
2 or
say,
3, yeah, both.
I would suggest saying are currently residing in the 95472 zip code.
I would
And
also
3,
add 95473 if possible.
Yes.
yeah, yes.
Okay, are currently residing in? Is
Yes.
that-
Mhm.
Yes, okay. Excellent, thank you. Are currently residing in Sebastopol zip codes 95472 or 95473.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, so we took care of 3, we took care of 4. Can we, I don't know whether we need a motion or not, but can we offer from the PAC 2000? And Jen, would you please speak to that briefly?
I think we were looking over the money that was currently in the bank last meeting, and we did have some in there. I think these are trying times for everybody, and this, you know, when the Public Arts Committee was started, it was much different times than it happens to be today. And of course, this was for, you know, public art work to be created, although is this the right time to be doing another $45,000 sculpture when we know people that are hurting? I myself, as an artist, I really struggle with the feast or famine thing. Sometimes I just don't have any artwork, and sometimes it's overwhelming how much. And I've been really fortunate during this time to have a lot of work during the pandemic, the wildfires, everything. And I'm under the impression that this is the time that maybe a slight shift should happen for us, could happen for us. We have the ability to do a little bit of good right now to help artists specifically. And I wouldn't mind seeing this happen. Just switching this to 1,000 to 2,000, just from the small amount of response that I've had in specifics, speaking with Catherine at the Center for the Arts. There are artists out there that are struggling, that $500 would really help them out right now. And her amount of enthusiasm for this project, specifically when I asked if we could do, use her email list, was really touching to me. And it made me realize again that, you know, if we could just do a little bit more, $2,000, maybe it's really not going to break our bank. We can still move forward with other really wonderful projects, but we could really help out a few people right now. And it seems to me like $500 a few extra times would really help a few special people out there who could use it. So just the consideration, if that would be at all something that you guys would consider, maybe just raising it to 2,000 for gifts of 500. I would love to talk about it.
Can I interject, please?
Absolutely.
I would like to move that we do give $2,000. I would like to move that we do ask the city council to match that. That's point 2 under here. I think number 3 has already been taken care of this morning by earlier process. 4, I don't think you can do until you have the city council approval for some of this. So let's move on and vote on that now.
Well, I will second that motion, increasing the PAC's funding to $2,000 and proposing to the city council that they match.
That's great, you guys. Thanks. All in favor for moving?
So I will do a roll call on this one if you don't mind.
Please, yes. Absolutely.
Okay, Chair Burtz,
Aye.
Vice Chair Mills Tyson, Committee Member Arnold,
Aye.
Committee Member Langberg,
Aye.
Committee Member Strucker.
Aye.
Okay, so that motion passes 5-0 unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you all. Beautiful.
Thanks for your work on that, guys.
Yeah,
That's great.
definitely.
Okay, and then was that in I forget, I got so excited I forgot. In the motion, was it also that we will ask the city council to match?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Excellent. Done. We're done. Any
No,
other?
I have one more comment, Margie.
Thank you.
When we were talking about the part that's included in the draft that Jen brought up. So note to PAC on proposal that's right above timeline. We were talking about what's in italics, but don't you also mean that the 2 parts right below that that are non-italics also are just for the PAC to consider?
Um,
That's just information for our
yeah,
members.
go ahead. Scroll down, where are you talking about? I have sent.
Yes,
Okay,
and
so
add
remove
contact
that.
those two.
Yeah, that's fine. I think we can include that so that they understand it's, we're waiting to hear back. I would include that, remove the italic and remove for PAC consideration, and that's good.
And then delete this, the note about the Sebastopol Gallery, because that's just more of a coordination thing.
Yeah, but they should know that that's in process, I think.
Oh, for city council report. you
Yes,
mean. So they
yeah.
know, okay, yeah, absolutely, okay.
Oh, I see. So
And I
that's
will-
to
I
inform
will-
city council.
Fix her name.
Yeah, and Margie, you had noted in an email to me yesterday about the potential for display at city buildings as well.
This is
So they're
of the artwork of the winners. Yes,
right, and so this would be a loan to have a piece of their artwork displayed, like in the windows or lobbies. Most of our buildings are not open right now, but the police and the police department building is, their lobby is always open, and the fire building department is open as well. So can be within the lobby. City Hall, we have windows that we can put artwork into. Same with public
I'll add a phrase
works, I think.
saying display in windows or and or lobbies as current requirements, pandemic requirements, current pandemic regulations require.
And I think that may address Committee Member Arnold's question about, well, what if one of them is a sculpture? Because we could designate those to be either at the fire department or the police department where there is a lobby available.
Yeah, so and or. And they could possibly be outside. I think I don't think we need to overload with the details, just to give an idea, and we'll work it out. That's my opinion. Oh, the other thing was, Carrie, do we need a disclaimer in this lottery, especially when it goes out to the people, that members of the city government and departments and committees or relatives are not
Eligible?
eligible? Do we need that?
I would put that in the proposal. Those types of things are usually within the proposal.
Okay, could you email that to me and I'll put it in?
I can write you a quick blurb, yeah. Or
Thank you.
Alan, if one of us will probably be able to pull it from, I believe our RFP for the,
Thank you.
our standing RFPs include that.
Okay, and Jeff, you're going to send me your statements.
I am doing it right now.
Excellent. Okay, so do we need to move to send it to the city council?
I have two quick things that I'd like to,
Yes, we,
first of all, Carrie, if there's any way we could get an official word, and what I've seen from the last month of going over of this, I do not have an official word on whether or not the money we will be giving to artists, they will have to pay tax on at the end of the year, because it's coming from the city. Is that non-taxable? And can we put that into the proposal? Because if they have to pay tax on this, that's something I don't want anyone to be surprised at the end of the year. And to add that one little line in.
I did. It's in there. It says winners will be asked to provide a W-9 or comparable form and will be responsible for any personal taxes related to their gift.
But is that official that they do have to pay tax on that?
That's what I was told. Yes.
Okay, that's,
We are not going to be involved in their personal taxes. And it's not tax-free.
sure,
If
sure.
you
But
don't
I
know-
wasn't, I kind of, when we got the money, the email back, it kind of said, I think so. I think they'll have to pay taxes.
Oh, so yeah, so it would be considered income, just like unemployment benefits are still considered income. If you have government unemployment benefits, that still all plays into your individual personal tax situation. And so you would need to account for that. And the reason for the W-9 that our finance department requires And they require this even for the $1,000 stipend for our RFPs and things like that, you know, the artist stipends for the finalists. We require the W-9 because we are required to report that we have paid that to the artist.
Got it. Okay, thank you for the clarification on that. One other thing, which would be, we just said we're gonna ask the city council to match our funds.
Mhm.
However, and I want to do this in the next meeting. So that would be on the 14th of September, I believe. The thing
The
I want
15th, but yeah.
is if at some point this is not on the agenda correctly, or if they can't just come to a single motion and pass it and say yes, if that's going to move on to the next meeting, I would like to go ahead with our 2,000 by October, by the October meeting, and they can match it later. If they can't come to a decision, we've come to our decision to move ahead with our timeline for our 2,000. I don't want to be held up in case city council can't come to that same decision for the matching, if that's okay. Just, you know, not written in this or anything, but is that something that would be possible, just in the possibility that they have to move it to the next meeting?
So my understanding, the information I got was they are able to do it, and they could do it, and there would not be a delay. And I like your point, so we could put a note to them, perhaps saying, if you are unable to agree to the match at this time, please pass it otherwise, if you're willing to.
Right, and I do want to be clear, this is not officially on the agenda for City Council. I do need to ask that it be placed on the September 15th agenda. So it's possible that if they don't have room and they've already decided, because frankly, our draft staff reports for this were due yesterday, that it may already need to be on the first meeting in October, in which case we'll let you know as the committee members, and shift the dates as needed. So I do want to be clear on that.
Okay, thanks, because I didn't know
But I
that.
think it's an easy enough item. Hopefully they can
Yeah, put
handle putting it on the next item.
planning. So if you
When
could,
will we know
Sure.
about that? I would love to know if that's going to be, since all of us or some of us would want to, you know, at least listen to that meeting.
Sure. I know that our city manager is meeting with the mayor and vice mayor who set those agendas pretty much every morning. So assuming they have their meeting tomorrow, I will ask them to bring that up to them and see if we can have that.
Thanks for letting us know about that. Yeah, that's great.
and please encourage them to include it. Think about all the wonderful things Jen said.
I will, and I think their next meeting in October is a budget meeting, so they will probably want to put it on the 15th.
Great.
Very
Good.
good. Thank you. So I will write up a note to council and send it along with a proposal, and I'm not sure where to place it. Maybe you could place it, Carrie, to the council about, you know, if you're not able to pass now the matching part, please match the rest, pass the rest. But we would appreciate it if you would do both. Okay. So can we vote on this?
No, we already voted on it.
We did. We voted.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you, Warren. Done then. And I will write it up and send it with all the corrections and changes, send it to Carrie, and hopefully she'll send it out to everyone else. I'll do that. Of
And please send it to Ellen and Rebecca as well.
course, yes. And
Okay,
thank
that's
you,
great,
everyone.
you guys. Thank you. I would love to just move right on because it's now 11:25 and we have a few more things left on the regular agenda. If we could move to the Sculpture Garden Subcommittee and discuss that, please. Margie and Warren, do you have anything on that?
I have a comment to make.
Okay.
And I think Carrie received an email from Beth Hartman. Is that correct?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
I don't know about that.
And she is pointing out the difficulty of installing work in Sebastopol. the forms are so difficult and the requirements for sculpture to go into the community is so difficult that they don't do it anymore? Is that correct?
Let me pull up that email because I can just read it.
Well, I
It
got a
was in
copy.
relationship to the sculpture jam and
Yes.
But there may be city ordinances, but this is
Well,
this will already be, like, this will be a
my
special
point
thing
is,
where it is already set up for that to happen.
yes, in other words, she has to install a sculpture, do the same effort that Ned Kahn would have to do. She thinks
I don't think so.
that's her.
because We're trying to create a space where it's agreed that that's going to happen.
Well, unfortunately for her, she's had to go to Cloverdale to install her work because it's much easier to do. So I think we need an answer because this affects the sculpture garden. What kind of paperwork will those artists have to fill out to install a work in our community? And that's not covered in any of our literature yet. So if it's a simple thing like going to Public Works and they
So-
say, yeah, this is fine, like they used to say, that's what we used to do. Or going to the police because the police might block visibility of a driver somewhere. And they've written off, yes, it's okay because it won't interfere with driving. Is that as simple as we can get, or do we need the same forms that our public art projects need?
so let me back up a little bit because I'm not sure I got the same email that Warren, you did from Beth. I have pulled it up, and so she's helping to repair the P and the X block letters that were damaged recently in the plaza sculpture. Then she asked, I'd like to ask you to consider the issue which has been stopping Sculpture Jam, a self-funded volunteer group under the aegis of the Sebastopol Center for the Arts, from submitting applications for our finished projects for temporary placement to continue to enliven the public sculpture aspect of Sebastopol. When you have a few moments, can you contact me about this? And I don't have any background of this since the Sculpture Jam was before my time and I wasn't involved with that. So I was hoping to get some background on that from the group.
Can I say something? Which is that part of what the function of the sculpture garden would be is to provide a pre-qualified area for sculpture. So
We
that,
know that. We know that.
yes, and
That's
so
not the issue. The issue is what kind of requirements to install something. Maybe it's safety requirements. Maybe they want to know how it's affixed or how it was welded. Are they good welders? Who knows what requirements there are? I just think we should face it before we go further, learn what the requirements will be
yes,
from the city building department or whoever is involved, engineering department. You know,
okay. That's, yeah, because I did include, Warren, your suggestion about that the artist should say how it would be attached.
yes.
So I
that's-
included, and that's excellent. And so, Carrie, how can we get that information about requirements for installation? And then my other question was about insurance. How can we
City
get,
land should insure it.
what?
That's why being on city land, the city should insure it.
Mhm.
That's why we use city land for one reason.
Okay, thank you.
But those other requirements, engineering requirements, are there any at all? That's what we need to know.
Yes, and how can we get that information, Carrie?
So that is something that I would need to research. Obviously, with something like the 30-foot NedCon sculpture on the east side of, which is in Caltrans property. They have an entirely different process, but obviously if you have a 30-foot sculpture, you need to make sure it's not going to fall over in wind. So that does, you know, once something hits a certain size, it does require a building permit and engineering in that case. The art piece on the library is sort of the same thing, where it's being hung from a wall. So you need to make sure that that it is stable enough on the wall. It's not going to fall off. I'm not sure if we would have different requirements. The city does have standard liability requirements for artists. I don't. I would need to look into whether sort of a freestanding sculpture would have the same requirements. Obviously, there's sort of two components of it. One is when it's being installed. So say the library had gone with a mural for that art project. Obviously, once it's a painted mural like the Black Lives Matter, it's not, that wasn't an issue. It was a city-sponsored project, didn't require E&O, errors and omission, or any sort of liability insurance to do that. That was a city-sponsored project, is how that ended up being done. So I will need to check with our risk management to see how they would consider sculptures in a city sculpture garden in that way.
Great.
And this would also apply to any other sculptures that people put up in the city.
On
Yes.
city
Like
land, anything on private land would be up to the private
no.
property owner.
But there's pieces at the library, there's pieces at the fire station. It involves any of those public lands, same requirements. It will
Right, and
all-
I don't think it's quite that complex, because I know we have
I don't
had
think so.
the library puts up things quite often. You know, they had the bicycle kind of murals in the plaza between the library and City Hall. That I'm pretty sure that did not go through the same
So
process.
the-
So let me
the thing-
look into it.
The things at the library were installed prior to whatever requirements now that Beth Hartman feels are too difficult to comply with. So maybe things have changed since that time, and that we do need a report on what the requirements are for something like the coyote at the library. Any of that, we need to know.
So I'm just to clarify, what are the requirements for, one, for installations, during installation, during removal of sculpture, and during the sculpture's tenure in the garden? And two, are there any size requirements? So all that can be, when we get that information, we could include
Yes.
that in the proposal. And Carrie, could you send that to Warren and me when you get that information? And it may be that, that we can do some of this, or at least get it set in advance so that artists don't have to do much. Because again, as I said, the garden itself has been set up to fulfill certain requirements, or in some way that we've set it up.
We
Make
need-
make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, we need the information. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Warren, that's great. Anything else?
I just want to say one thing. I think it's like the sculpture you mentioned, Carrie, in the plaza, right? Like that's, if one of those pieces is big and heavy and it's sort of, it doesn't have to be 30 feet tall to be a potential hazard, right? So it feels like we need some level of review of how stable or structurally sound any of these things are. If Glenn was still our building inspector, like maybe there's a way to have a building official look at a proposal, just in a simple way, not like a building which has to go through so many requirements, and that it just would make it prohibitive for artists to even think about doing this. But if we could do some sort of more streamlined, straightforward process where Daryl Phillips from Phillips Seabrook could come to one of our meetings, or we could sit with them and show them with the artist, here's the proposal, and just think of some way to simplify it, but and yet still obviously make sure it's safe. Or maybe there's a structural engineer who could, would be willing to volunteer a little time to review the projects. Like I could do that to some degree, but it's not really my expertise. But we could find another person in the community that could do that, so that everybody's comfortable, installing the piece, and yet it's not this onerous requirement.
Could we maybe, if we find someone like that, pre-set it up so that there's an idea that the artist could, since online, not in person, as little in person as possible, the artist could get the form from this person, fill out the numbers, send it back, and get an okay, or you need to adjust this.
Yeah, I think it's what's the process for them to submit to be an entrant for the sculpture garden. It includes a photo, it includes the specifications, the weight or whatever. Like, I think in a way, and some of the process just to enter will include a requirement, will include information that we just have to run it by someone who's got the expertise.
Right, and that part of it does sound like something that would be sitting down with the building official. And like with the library sculptures, we did, I don't know if we shared all of them, but we certainly shared the finalists with the building official at the time and the Public Works Superintendent Dante for any comments that they had. So in some ways, Lars, what you're indicating is, hey, would this require a building permit? If not, it's just sort of a piece of furniture that's bolted down, right?
Yeah.
And the building official makes that kind of determination all the time in terms of whether or not something needs a building permit because of size, scale, whatever, weight, potential for danger. And so that seems like that's a pass, no pass in terms of whether that question of are there triggers for when insurance or something larger would be required versus a piece of a sculpture being more of a piece of furniture that can be bolted to the pedestal.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. So there'd be kind of like two parts. One would be specs that we could give everyone who was thinking of applying, and the other would be a review after we receive and have our finalists, something like that. Excellent. Other comments?
Yeah, Margie, hi. Again, I have some mechanical suggestions, just a few.
If they're on the text, if you can email me those,
Sure.
I will put them, because we obviously need to do another version when we get that information that we just were discussing. Okay, so if there's other things besides, I appreciate, because I do the same kind of editing thing that you do, and that's great. But if you can just send that to me, those kind of things.
Will do.
Anything else besides that kind of stuff, Jeff?
No.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for doing that.
Okay, if we don't have any more comments on the sculpture garden, should we move on?
Let me just see if I have any other. Okay, can we get I'm not sure, but maybe it was discussed. Can we get confirmation about the city will insure the pieces?
That is a conversation I need to have, Margie. I don't know. Normally, if, like I said, with a larger piece like the library, that does require the artist to have the liability insurance for their work. So in this context, it's a different context. It's something that I don't know what the past practice was, what the current practice is. And from committee member Arnold, it sounds like something may have changed at some point when Sculpture Jam was happening in the city's policy related to that. Is that accurate, Warren?
Yes.
So it sounds like possibly we would also include some size requirement to make things work more easily. We can find out if that would be helpful.
Yeah, I need to find out what the triggers, I think you had called it, what are the triggers for insurance?
Great, triggers. Very good.
Okay, great.
Great. And I just want to thank you, Warren, for your input and for sending it to me. It's very helpful. And again, I was included and appreciated.
Thank you.
Great, guys. Thank you. Okay, let's move on and see if we can get an update on the NedCon project for both Hotel Sebastopol and our project.
Well, my update is nothing. I can give you a list of the times I've tried to contact Ned and his excuses for not meeting, if you'd like to hear all of them. The last one was he was hiking in the Sierra with his family, and he's not gotten back to me from the last emails. The last one included Carrie, so she knew that I was still following up. So I don't know what to do. I can keep after him, or I have the radical thought that we can abandon the project with Ned and go back to plan 0 and do a new call, which perhaps Ned would apply to or not. So that would be my update. This Sebastopol Inn or hotel, I know nothing about other than he's doing wind type work, but I see nothing going on there.
Yeah,
Question?
I can give a quick update on that one once, if you want to talk about them separately.
Harry, Jen, were you able to communicate with Ned? I thought you said you had.
No, I did not.
Okay, thank you.
Carrie, do you want to give us your update, or unless Warren, do you still have anything else to comment on?
No, just that it's fairly frustrating not to be able to get together with him, because I've tried about 10 times this last 2 or 3 months. And we've made dates that have been canceled or not adhered to, et cetera. So now he's not even answering.
Okay, understood. Thank you for that, Warren. Carrie, do you have some update on Hotel Sebastopol?
Yes, so I was able to communicate with Circe, the one of the owners of the hotel site. And it will, the NedCon sculpture, haven't seen it, but apparently it will take up more or less that entire block, you know, that entire site with an interactive environmental sculptures as the description. I did talk to Circe a little bit about the timing for it and potentially doing joint PR with the Mobile Art Act. I sent her the link to the Mobile Art app as it stands now, as maybe a really good sort of tie-in to promote that and the NedCon sculpture at the same time. And she was really excited about it. The sculpture should be going up in the next few weeks, so I thought it might be a good idea to perhaps invite Circe or someone from the hotel group to the next PAC meeting to talk about potentially doing some promotion of Sebastopol's art scene between the mobile app, and they will be doing some pushes on you know, outdoor art experiences, including the NedCon sculpture. They did note that their concierges will be promoting it at their existing hotels as they getting out into the community. And so I think working with them would be really helpful for both the art community in Sebastopol as well as the hotel site and sculpture. So that's about all I know about it now, but obviously the sculpture may have been just installed or just about to be installed by the next PAC meeting.
Great. I have seen pictures of it. It's
Oh.
big. It's interesting.
And she has asked, how do we get this installation into the mobile app guide? So they're excited about it as well. This is a sculpture certainly that can be highlighted.
Feel free to have Cersei, she can email me and I can just run down and add it to the app. I mean, the whole thing takes me just a
Perfect.
minute. So that'd be fine. Once it's ready and she'd like to have it added, just have her shoot me an email or a text, whatever is fine. And then, yeah, that sounds like a fun and interesting way to put some more eyes on the app, I suppose, or on the website. However, you know, sitting in on a couple of the last city council meetings, especially the one that was really surrounding the Florence issue, my excitement for the app has waned, only because there are some people, you know, having an app in Sebastopol without Florence seems silly, and having the people on Florence not at all want more people down their street also seems like what we're doing is, you know, we don't have Florence on the app, but the whole thing just seems a little different than I think what the initial excitement from my perspective was, which would of course to have, you know, highlighted Florence. It's not what they want, let's say in a general consensus. Anyway, besides that, it would still be fun to at least utilize it for other artwork, especially the Hotel Sebastopol site. Seems like a win-win. So let's do it. I would love to talk to her.
Okay, I will connect the two of you on that, and then she may know more about timing as well.
Great, thank you.
And Jen, I just want to say, you know, I'm sorry, I hear, you know, your disappointment with your initial vision. And it just, but I think that it's a wonderful project anyway. And I think, you know, like I was thinking with the app about all the different neighborhood pockets and I let that go. And I think that Florence, it already exists. It's known. There's no way to stop that. And so it is included, but it's word of mouth and it's unspoken in that realm. So I think that the app will grow, and limiting it to things on city property may feel less, but I just think it's still great.
Definitely not just city property. It is stuff on public property too, just not Florence. So.
Well, if it's not a city property, then we do have to check with all those neighbors, the other neighbors, don't we?
No, we don't.
No.
Yeah, we can put private on there. There's plenty of private properties on there right now, from the church to the hardware store. All of those are not city-owned properties, and that's still considered public art according to the city lawyer. We can put those on. We are just being gracious and knowledgeable about the people of Florence who, as far as what I can understand, they just don't want anybody promoting more people coming down their street, especially not in cars. So.
Yeah, I think it's more related to cars as their
Yeah.
concern. It's not so much pedestrians. They are on the Cheetah Slow had done the ped line. They have the ped lines around town, including the green line through the Laguna, and then they have the art walk, which does include Florence Avenue. So it's not that they want to exclude everyone. It's more they have a lot of vehicle traffic that they're very sensitive to. And that is probably exacerbated a bit by people driving very slowly to look at art, but not get out of their cars. But yeah, the city attorney's determination was this, if it's not copyrighted, and so there were some concerns that some of Patrick Amiot's work is in his calendars and is it therefore copyrighted. But if it can be on private property, if it's visible from a public right of way, you're able to take a picture of it from a public right of way, and that is legitimate.
Well, that's even bigger then, more vista. And, you know, that's my neighborhood. Patrick's my back neighbor. So I understand.
Anyway, is there anything else that we should go over regarding NedCon in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I would like to have some kind of direction here, not talk about the app, but talk about Ned Kahn. That's what the subject is.
Well,
Do we keep going with, do I keep after him some more, or
Radical idea of starting over, I think sounds great, seeing as how, what has it been, 5 years or 4 years that we've
Yeah.
been meeting for this? I
probably more than that?
has exhausted itself, and I will be the first one to say I'm on board with your radical idea.
Good.
All to anybody involved in this. But yeah, let's, anyway, does anybody else have comments on that?
I'd comment just going back to the artist relief effort that we're doing right now. Ned Kahn is not an artist in need of relief. And so giving the opportunity for a public art piece to someone else would be great. And he's about to have, bigger art piece right here. So I'd say we should give him a timeline, like give him a month or something and say, we're ready to move on unless you come up with something. And then we move on.
Good work, Lars.
Yeah.
And if that is the direction, Warren, you and I should work together because we do have a contract with him, and so that how to extinguish that contract and any required notification. I think that's in the contract in terms of if there's a timeline.
But he
You
can't
want to be
afford to
respectful of
do.
that.
He has basically bailed out because he cannot financially afford to do that sculpture for the $50,000.
Well, we discussed, other options, but it sounds like something is going on for him also. I mean, it's,
He's had medical emergencies. His wife has had medical emergencies. I understand that, but
Okay.
he can also meet with me and move forward.
Yeah. So I think a reasonable timeline, and he may be happy to drop it himself. I don't know. We don't know.
He said he was open to ideas, but until we meet, we cannot even explore ideas. I suggest really we give him maybe a month, if you wish, to decide to start meeting and talking.
Right.
Okay, and just so everybody is clear, including Jeff, who wasn't here, or maybe even Lars when this all came up, that we offered a $45,000 grant, but Ned ended up getting through saying this is never going to be a $45,000 grant for him. So to say that he can't do it for 50 is a little bit different than I think what the reality was, which was he proposed us a piece that was going to be about 100,000, and he wanted to cover the rest. So at this point, he can't cover the rest that he was saying, and whatever, maybe now it's going to, in order to do something, it was going to be a $200,000 sculpture. Either way, he's not able to cover, he was never going to do it just for the 50. He knew this was going to cost more. So that it was a big learning lesson, I think, for all of us. We need to get people to just stick within the budget that we're offering and do any piece of art for that. And of course, it's changed now a few times from the original
100% changed.
100%.
well, we have, and Warren did bring up
100%.
Warren did bring up the option of something different. So if there's any way of anything that he wants to do that would fit in some way that would work, at least
So part of the restrictions,
have that as an option for him, and just,
if he will meet, you
Yeah.
have to understand, he's so busy with other things, like
Yeah.
he's doing a NASA, trying to do an outer space sculpture. Seriously, he's met with NASA. He may not have the energy and time for us anymore.
maybe some other time then.
Maybe
So,
some other time. That's why I say, let's move on, but
Sorry, go ahead.
well, he really would love to do something for the city, but how many things have changed in the past year? Everything has changed. Everything has changed. So, I would like to say, Ned, we'd really like to know if you're going to do this, and we can talk within the next month sometime. Otherwise, we'd really like to drop it. Sorry, you know, I know you have a contract, but you can't fulfill it. You know, we can't force you to. It's actually just from materials, it's 200,000. That's not engineering. That's not his work to do it, hiring employees and all that. He just can't do it.
And so would that be something you'd be willing to go over with Carrie and looking over the contract to see how we would go about discussing this with him? And if there would be a few regulations as far as we need you to contact within this certain period of time. And then if you would be willing to
Well,
cancel.
you know, the contracts are something he can't do. So I would suggest Carrie and the city manager talk, not me.
Yeah, I think that seems appropriate. I mean, obviously the contract is for the specific piece of art that he's no longer being doing. So it would have required a new contract to modify if the site was modified. And I'm just looking at the city's right to terminate and suspend the contract. So usually there's a time frame in that. So that's kind of what I was looking for. But obviously, because he's not able to fulfill and provide the product, that it would be good for him too if he's just not able to do it financially.
And
Yeah.
So I just want to, I'll talk with the city manager if that is, it sounds like this group wanted to maybe give him a month to come out and see if he's interested. If not, at that point we would terminate, and I can talk to the city manager about the details of logistics of that legally.
I have a question and a comment. So first of all, I appreciated the background there, Jen. Has Ned received any partial payments thus far?
Has he? I don't know.
No, he has not submitted any invoices at this point.
Okay.
I know he certainly spent funds with his engineers, but he's not submitted anything.
Okay, thank you. And then my comment is, Warren, if you've had such a difficult time hearing back from Ned and we make a motion to give him a month extension, et cetera, how do we know he's even going to respond to that?
We won't.
Before you respond, let me just tell you that it is 11:58. Go ahead.
Well, I'll just say unless I talk to him or phone him or whatever, email is what I've been doing, I won't know it. You know, he has not responded to the last one, and he's responded to other ones, but I've always been put off. He's never made a meeting yet.
well, if the
It
city sent an official letter, and if we didn't hear back from him in a month, then it would, such and such would occur. And I'm sure I don't need to say this, but just to communicate always with appreciation and respect.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
I always ask about his family.
good.
Yeah, no, of course. Ned's actually a friend, you know.
I'm talking about the city. If the city-
It's hard
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
this.
Okay,
I think-
I could go ahead and make a motion then. So I would move that the PAC give Ned Kahn a 1-month extension. And at that 1-month expiration, if he's not moving forward with the said project, then we open up to other artists and their potential installations.
I can't go for that because it's not said project, it's a new project. We're going to give him the chance to do a new project.
Okay, then I would edit that to say a new project.
Yes.
And
And I
also-
think any
Wait.
letter should come from Carrie. Not me. I don't have any weight with, obviously.
Yeah, no, Warren has been very gracious in helping to coordinate with Ned. What we can do as a city is I can communicate with Ned. I have his email, and have been coordinating with him during the Caltrans permitting process, and let him know that PAC does want to hear from him within the next month. And he can do that through Warren and or myself. And I'm hoping Warren's still willing to be that contact. But that if we don't hear from him within the next month, the city is looking to move on. And we can put in, if I would like to do it because this is kind of a big deal for the city, I would like to put it as an official item on next month's PAC agenda if he declines.
Excellent.
And I would like
I
to
would
add to
withdraw
Jeff's
that motion.
proposal that we're specific about when the month begins, and perhaps like it would begin when Carrie sends the email or something like that. So it doesn't begin at this moment.
Yeah, that's fine. Good. A month from now.
From when he is communicated with about it.
Right, and if we get the email out to him today or tomorrow, then you can either act on it at your October 7th or your November 4th meeting, whichever you prefer.
Shall I second?
So the motion is basically just to talk to him? Because I don't understand fully why we need to pass a motion, I guess.
Yes,
to give him
right.
a-
I mentioned, I talked over somebody else, I think, but after what I heard Carrie say, I was going to withdraw that motion because it sounds like the city's going to.
I
Okay,
would like to just hear from Ned first before we go and pass anything. I just like, I mean, we've had this huge relationship with him.
yes, good.
It's okay, can we just, we don't need to rush into this or anything. We're not gonna, yeah, so if that's okay, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I withdraw my second.
Okay, so the city will send him some communication, letting him know that we really need to hear from him, or if he's interested in doing a new project. Otherwise, the city would want to move on with potentially with a new call.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. That's great. Okay, we'll talk about this again at the next one. I think we'll all have a lively discussion on that. Do you want to give us a quick planning department report before we adjourn?
Oh,
Sorry,
for
Marty.
the agenda for next meeting,
Sorry, what?
the agenda for the next meeting would also include the sculpture garden. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Carrie, go ahead.
Let's see. The city council has continued to work on support for various areas of the community related to COVID. They did pass a microloan program for businesses at their meeting last night. They also passed, and Lars will be interested in this, some modifications to the facade improvement program for Sebastopol businesses. They've increased the support from a 50-50 match to the business owner to a 75% match. And we will be doing some heavier marketing and with the quarterly deadlines instead of a sort of over-the-counter staff review. I'm hoping to generate some excitement and involve our DRB with those. Those are sort of big COVID updates. We do have a new interim police chief, Don Mort. Lieutenant DeVore is back in his lieutenant's role, so that is helpful for them staffing wise. The recruitment for the police chief is ongoing and hopefully close to closure. It was disrupted quite a bit by the COVID events. And in terms of the fires, we do have 2 full engines, so 8 firefighters and 2 engines at the Wallbridge fire. They have been there, I believe they'll be there, the fire chief said, until Labor Day, and that will be 21 days. A good community effort from Sebastopol on that part, and the 8 firefighters received appreciation from the council last night. And I will leave it at that, given the time.
Great, thank you
you.
so much.
Chair Vert, 2 really quick comments. First of all, I'm still interested in doing handprints. And Gary, is it possible, is it not too much work to include the PAC balance at the beginning of each minutes or agenda rather?
It does not change that much, because unless you've spent something, it is a pretty stable account.
Okay,
So if I could do that maybe quarterly or something, that would be
Sure.
a little bit easier. Or
that'd be fantastic.
okay, but yeah, I can do that at the next meeting.
Thank you.
And actually, at the next meeting, I'm sorry, no, it'll be 2 meetings from now. Will be when the council has adopted the budget, and I'll be able to update you on that.
And it would be okay for me to just email you, Carrie, and with the date, I was talking to the team, the Black Lives Matter visibility team about a date that would work for them. But this week, it's been like 2 weeks now. They've all been starting back on school, with Zoom and this and that. They wanted to be there to meet you guys. They also have a couple of friends that wanted to come out, people that missed it also. So it'd be like a small event for, I don't know, just a few of us to put handprints down. But their time schedules are just really packed. So it'd probably be in another week or two. If I email a date to Carrie, and if you can make it, great. If not, I could always go out there and meet you personally too. Does that work? Or
And Jen, you can send that all directly to the PAC. That doesn't require any pending items for the PAC. So that is fine to just send out. CC me, obviously, and Ellen, obviously, but you can send it directly to the PAC members.
sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second,
Second.
Second,
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, motion approved. We're adjourned. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye, you guys. Have a good one.